All right, in this explainer, we're going to dive into a pretty massive shift in how we need to think about risk. For decades, enterprise security has been all about the front door, locking it down, checking IDs. But in the age of AI, the biggest danger, well, it might already be inside the building. And this quote right here, it just nails the problem perfectly. The old questions, who are you? And are you allowed in? They're still important, for sure, but they're just not enough anymore. The whole game has changed because what happens after someone gets access has become way more complex and way more dangerous. So let's really break this down. For as long as we can remember, software security was pretty straightforward. Prove who you are and we'll check if you're allowed to be here. Simple. But now, we've got AI systems that can act on their own, what we call agentic AI, and that just throws a whole new wrench in the works. It's a completely new dynamic. And this slide just lays out the shift perfectly. Over on the left, you've got that classic castle and moat security. It's all about guarding the front door. But look at the right. That's the new reality. We're talking about an intelligent system that remembers things, understands our goals, and has been handed the keys to act for us. So the risk isn't just about someone breaking in anymore. It's about what a totally authorized AI can do once it's already inside. This brings us to a huge problem with a lot of AI tools out there today. They love to talk about memory, but what they're really offering is just simple recall. And that is not going to cut it in this new world of risk. There's a world of difference between an AI simply remembering something and making sure its actions have what we call governed continuity, a secure, traceable history. And this comparison makes it crystal clear. On the left, that's what most AI memory is. It's there for convenience, right? Like remembering your last chat. But on the right, that's what we actually need, governed memory. This is about having a permanent, unchangeable record, a real provenance of what happened. It means you can perfectly reconstruct a situation for an audit and prove that every single action was tied to a legitimate authorized request. This right here, this is the core idea we have to get into our heads. Just because an AI can remember something or generate a response, that does not mean the process is safe or auditable or controlled. Not at all. In fact, without a real governance layer, that memory can go from a feature to a massive liability fast. So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it takes a whole new kind of system, one built from the ground up to solve this continuity problem. So let's take a look at a framework called Governed Project Memory, or GPM. And the key is to think of it not as just a memory feature, but as a governance-first architecture. Now, what's so important here is that GPM isn't just one tool, it's a complete system, a coherent spine made of different modules that all lock together. As you can see, it handles everything, from understanding the initial intent to creating a durable source of truth, making sure authority is respected, and then finally carrying all that governance into real-world actions. It's the whole shebang, end to end. Okay, let's zoom in on one of GPM's most powerful pieces, something called the Governed Diligence Engine, or GDE. Its whole job, its entire reason for being, is to provide provable, auditable proof for really complex workflows. It's about taking what's often a messy, hard-to-track human review process and making it completely transparent and trustworthy. So how does the GDE actually build this proof? Well, it does it through 4 distinct layers, creating this unbreakable chain of evidence. First, it confirms exactly what information it started with. Second, it creates a trace of what a human actually looked at. Third, it makes the evaluation rules crystal clear for everyone. And finally, it compares the review to a standard model to automatically find any gaps. It's incredibly thorough. And how does it make sure all of this proof is tamper-proof? This is the secret sauce, something called a review snapshot. And the slide says it best. Think of it like a digital notary seal. It takes a literal snapshot that locks in the exact state of a review at one moment in time, the documents, the rules, everything. This creates a permanent, unchangeable record that makes the whole process truly, genuinely auditable. So what do you get at the end of all this complex work? Well, it's not just some abstract idea. It creates a very real, concrete, audit-ready output called the Governed Review Packet. This is the tangible proof of all that hard diligence work. So let's peek inside this packet. It has everything you need to perfectly reconstruct the entire review. You've got a list of every single document, a trace of the reviewer's exact actions, a matrix that links every conclusion directly back to its source, and a super clear list of any gaps that were found.
Nothing is left to chance. It's all there.
And check this out. This table is a fantastic, simplified example of how it all works. It takes a required standard, maps it directly to the evidence in the documents, and here's the best part. It explicitly flags where there are inconsistencies or straight up gaps. It makes the invisible visible. So let's pull back out to the big picture again. All of these technical pieces we've been talking about, they all serve one single, absolutely crucial purpose: to drive the shift we need to make in our enterprise security mindset. This is the bottom line, right here. For years, security was all about keeping the bad guys out. And don't get me wrong, that is still critical. But the new and honestly, maybe even scarier problem is a fully authorized system causing massive damage at machine speed, all because it was acting on bad information or with a broken context. And that brings us right back to the fundamental takeaway of this whole explainer. We have to move our thinking beyond just access control. We need to start building systems that can manage and govern the consequences that unfold long after that initial access was granted. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about for your own work. In this new agentic era, is the memory that your projects and AI systems are building a ticking time bomb, a liability just waiting to cause a problem, or is it a governed, trustworthy asset? Because the answer to that question is going to define the future of enterprise safety.